This is 2 cats and 600 balls in a ball pit. But really, this is a story about more than that. This is 2 cats and 600 balls in a ball pit. But really, this is a story about more than that. This is a story about friendship, trust, and maybe a little bit about jealousy. We got a package. This was a big package. We knew it was full of balls because we could hear them inside the box. The moment we opened it, one of the cats immediately jumped in. And while he was doing that, the other cat just kind of sat there and watched him. The reason we have so many balls around is because last week we did a photo shoot for a company. They sent over 800 balls, but 200 of those balls were blue, and they wanted us to only use the blue ones for the shoot. Well, after the shoot was over, we still had all these balls left over, and the cats immediately took an interest in them. I don't think either of them had ever seen so many balls in one place before. At first, the most interesting thing about the balls was the sound that they made when they hit the floor. It was almost like a little game for them to bat at them and then listen to the sound that they made. One of the things we've noticed about these cats is that they each have their own unique way of playing with toys. For instance, sometimes Stringbean will roll a toy across the floor and then chase after it, while Mochi would rather pick up the toy in her mouth and carry it around the house. Well, it seems that these cats react differently to the ball pit as well. Mochi likes to jump in and hide in the balls, while Stringbean prefers to stay outside the pit and watch. I guess this makes sense, though, because Mochi is a lot smaller than Stringbean, so she can fit into a smaller space. At first, Mochi was very hesitant to jump into the ball pit, which is why you see her kind of batting at the balls on the floor. It was almost like she was testing them out, making sure they weren't dangerous before committing to jumping in. Once she was satisfied that the balls were safe, though, she wasted no time jumping right in. Meanwhile, Stringbean spent the whole time just watching her. At first, he would occasionally bat at a ball that came too close to the edge of the pit, but for the most part, he was just sitting back and observing. Maybe he was wondering if the balls were dangerous, or maybe he was just curious about what Mochi was doing. Either way, he never jumped in himself. It wasn't until much later that we actually saw him give in and jump in with Mochi. In the beginning, Mochi would often jump out of the ball pit to take a break. She would come over to us and rub against our legs, purring the whole time. We think she was doing this to let us know that she was taking a break and that we should pet her. Of course, we obliged and spent some time giving her some much-needed love. All of this attention made Stringbean very jealous, though. He would often come over and head-butt us, trying to get us to pet him instead. When we weren't paying attention to either of them, though, things got interesting. You see, whenever Mochi would jump out of the pit for a break, Stringbean would immediately jump in. He would roll around in the balls and seem very happy doing it, but the moment Mochi came back to the pit, Stringbean would jump out again. He would sit on the edge and watch her while she played. At first, we thought this was just because he was being a good little kitty and looking out for his friend. But after a while, we started to realize that there was more to it. You see, every time Mochi would jump out of the pit, Stringbean would immediately jump in. But every time Mochi would jump back in, Stringbean would immediately jump out. It was almost like he didn't want her to be in there with him. So the next time Mochi jumped out of the pit, we decided to leave Stringbean in there with her. And wouldn't you know it? The moment Mochi jumped back in, Stringbean immediately jumped out and ran away. From that moment on, we never forced Stringbean to go back in the pit with Mochi. We always let him come to the decision on his own. And eventually, he did decide to jump back in with her, but it took him a long time to get over his jealousy. There were many times where we would see him sitting by the pit, watching Mochi play and just not getting in. It seemed like he was still a little jealous of her, but he eventually got over it. As the days passed, Mochi became less interested in playing with the bulls and more interested in playing with us. She would often come over and rub against our legs, purring the whole time, or she would jump up on the counter and watch us work. She also loved to help us out by licking our hands and face. It almost felt like she was trying to make up for the fact that she wasn't playing with the balls as much anymore. Meanwhile, String Bean became obsessed with the balls. He would spend hours rolling them around, chasing them and hiding in them. It almost seemed like he was trying to make up for lost time. As the weeks passed, the cats became less interested in the balls, and we were left with a giant pile of plastic. So now we're going to tell you what happened to all of those balls. First, we took out the 200 blue ones that we used for the shoot. Then we put all of the remaining balls in a giant bag. Some friends of ours were moving into a new house, and they have a kid on the way, so we donated the balls to them. We think the kid is gonna love them. Next, we took out all the dirty balls. These are the ones that had been sitting around for the longest, and they definitely needed a wash. We washed them in cold water with some mild soap, and then dried them off before putting them back in the bag. Then we took out all the small balls. These are the ones that the cats couldn't fit in their mouths. We gave these to a local animal shelter. We figured the cats and dogs there would love to play with them. After that, we took out all the slightly dirty balls. These were the ones that had been sitting around for a while, but we didn't feel like washing them. We gave these to a friend who has a kid. Finally, we took out all the brand new balls. These were the ones that we had just gotten from the company, and we didn't have a use for them. So we decided to donate them to a local charity organization. And that's the story of what happened to all of those balls. As for the cats, well, they're still best friends. Mochi still loves to play with String Bean, and String Bean still loves to watch Mochi play. Just kidding. They do still play together, but they don't really watch each other play. Now, we don't have any balls left, but we do have a lot of videos. So click here to watch this video. Click here to watch this one, and stick around to see what happens next.